He also said last night that if Shakur's to fight Williams Zepeda, he would have to sign with Golden Boy.
I mean, if I'm DAZN, I'm thinking, why are you stopping fights from happening on our platform? If I'm Williams Zepeda, I'm thinking, why are you using me to try and sign Shakur Stevenson? Why you got to keep talking about me? You know, you seem to be very happy with yourself and your life. Don't worry about little old Eddie Hearn.
Bit of British sarcasm from Eddie Hearn. Why is Oscar after me? Knowing full well that you set Oscar up. Like, Eddie's having a laugh out there now. Before, he's finding his feet, but he's having a laugh out there with the likes of Oscar De La Hoya, who's become his beating stick recently. As somebody pointed out in the comments section here, Eddie threw out the proposition to Shakur, you should go fight Zepeda, knowing full well Oscar probably coked up, sweating profusely. Is that what you said, Eddie? I'm going to respond, Eddie. Blew any chance he's got of signing Shakur. Yeah, you can get the Zepeda fight, but you've got to sign to Golden Boy. I mean, who does that in 2024? All you hear is boxers these days looking to avoid rigid long-term contracts. They all want to be free agents. But there's Oscar trying to get someone to sign to Golden Boy to get a fight against someone who's probably going to be mandated to fight Shakur anyway. So now you look like a total to DAZN, to the boxing fans. Oh, you could have made the fight, but you're holding it back because of risk reward. That's why we're not getting the fights. And you're just looking stupid, just stupider and stupider. I mean, the IFL interviewer is laughing as he's asking Eddie about what Oscar said because it's so preposterous. What are Williams Zebeda's management thinking right now with this nutter? I've already told the world why I'm not making Zepeda fight Shakur. So now I better go and get him a serious fight, or a lot of people are saying you're not promoting him right, or he's a hype job. No, he's going to go off partying, doing stupid videos, doing whatever he does. And Zebeda's going to fight Mickey Mouse next, and everyone's going to say, well, what's going on? You just had a perfectly good fight with Shakur. We know the fight was there. What have you did? What have you done? Why have you did it? Golden Boy is a joke. Like, Bernard is there as the black guy in a company who's going to smooth over the cracks to get black fighters to sign to DAZN. But you see with Rashidi Ellis, he couldn't get a fight on there. He went to the PBC. Errol Spence said, when proposed to sign with Golden Boy, that, Oscar, you don't treat black fighters correctly. Deontay Wilder dissed them. Then you got the emails and Oscar's history as well. And Bernard is ineffective in trying to get any black fighters over there. Ineffective, and it's just not working. And I'm not just bringing it down to a race thing. It's the incompetence of Oscar, the unprofessionalism more than racism. Racism is often used lazily when people have an inability to describe the incompetence or the ineptness of certain people. In Ryan Garcia's case, how impressionable he is from guys like Sneeko and whoever else he hangs around with. Oscar is inept and incompetent. That's what he is. Bob Arum, you know what I think of Bob Arum. But Bob ain't going out there dressing up like a getting in DUIs, coked out when he was doing the punditry on Triller that time, or any of the stupidness, or coming out with the stupidity he comes out with. How does he think it sounded to potential fighters signing with Golden Boy? How he was mocking a fighter who was violated by a fighter he promotes on PEDs. How does he think it sounded? How much boxers are going to take you serious after that proposition to Shakur? Shakur's going to sign to Golden Boy to fight Williams Zepeda. He's not exactly Tank Davis, is he? Or Ray Mancini, a money man at 135. We understand why Terence Crawford signed to the PBC to get the Spence fight. It made sense. But Williams Zepeda? You sign over your free agency to fight Williams Zepeda on Golden Boy. When Golden Boy had Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman there, they had no problems getting black fighters. This is incompetence. From Oscar De La Hoya, and you have to say Robert Diaz as well, who I respected, and Eric Gomez. This is incompetence from Golden Boy. And Bernard Hopkins, ineffective. What does he do? I'm from the hood, man. This, that. Well, get some of the fighters from the hood to sign to Golden Boy then. When Al Heyman emptied out the stable, the Golden Boy stable, and brought them over to the PBC, Canelo stayed. He was very loyal to Oscar because of their Mexican ties. How did Oscar get Canelo to hate him so much? How did you do that? So it's not even just black fighters. This man has no business being behind the wheels running a promotional company. Oscar was telling Eddie that American boxing is his territory. But what alliances has Oscar built in America? How come them PBC fighters said Eddie was the devil, racist white man, and all this shit? And now all of a sudden he's signing PBC fighters. Eddie Hearn even threw shots at Canelo about being a drug cheat, then ended up promoting him and still has a relationship with him. How comes Oscar can't do that? These are hard questions he needs to ask himself, but he's incapable of doing that. He's like a little kid. Oscar still hasn't grown up since he used to have them screaming girls all around him when he used to box and made them whack-ass records.
Playing yourself, y'all. Playing yourself.
Bob Arum, let me tell you this now about that guy. He's a businessman, good businessman. He's good at balancing the books right now. But since Manny Pacquiao, what pay-per-view draws has Bob had since Pacquiao? And we're going back nearly 10 years now. We're going back nearly 10 years since Pacquiao was on Top Rank. What pay-per-view draws has he had? Look at the fighters he's had. He couldn't turn Mayweather into a pay-per-view draw. Terence Crawford, arguably the best two American fighters in the last 30 years. Let's talk about Marvin Hagler. This geezer here and the Italian guy Sabatini, Bob kept the belts out of America. All them guys were fighting on the Philly circuit, couldn't get a shot, right? If it wasn't for Ted Kennedy and Tip O'Neill, politicians from Boston, Massachusetts, where Hagler resided, and they told Bob Arum at some press conference setting, why isn't Hagler getting a shot? And he had to take it serious. These politicians are asking why he's not getting a shot. What they should have asked is why are all these American fighters being blocked out from the middleweight title? But you know, they did their job for Hagler. And that's how Hagler got a shot at Vito Antuofermo. Yeah? This scumbag tried to defend Margarito when he got busted with the hand wraps with Shane Mosley. Tried to defend him and got booed off the stage when Manny Stewart, Jim Lampley and Kellerman, etc. started ethering him. Remember that optimism we had when the WBSS tournament started? We got one unified champion, Josh Taylor, another unified champion out of it. Anyway, Usyk became undisputed. Sauerland's putting in work, Eddie Hearn putting in work. Europeans putting a whole lot of work into this fucking game, right? Al Heyman, he didn't say anything, kept his mouth shut. He put one fighter in there, Andrew Tabiti, and he got flattened by Dorticus. And I like Andrew Tabiti. The only top-ranked fighter off the top I can think of who was in the WBSS was Rob Brown. Nobody was doing more in-house fights than Bob Arum before the PBC came along. Yeah? Bob Arum came out and said, we're not going to put our fighters to fight on another network in some tournament. This guy said, fuck the WBSS. And then he signed up two of the winners from the WBSS tournament. You like this guy? You really like this? This the guy you like? Tell me what he did for Josh Taylor over there. What did he sign him up for? When Taylor was with the McGuigans, they were going to sign to Matchroom and blow him up. How he should have been blown up. You think Bob Arum could do a better job for Josh Taylor than Eddie Hearn? Josh Taylor, only 4-belt undisputed champion from the UK. Is he a big draw in the UK? No. His profile went nowhere in the UK with Bob Arum. Josh Taylor's profile fell off when he signed with Arum. When he was in the WBSS tournament with the Sauerlands and McGuigan and Hearn, his profile was high in the UK. What about Tyson Fury? Beatty promotes Tyson Fury. Yeah, because Warren didn't have no stock in America, so he gave up some promotional equity to Bob Arum. If Turkey Al-Sheikh was around after that first Fury Wilder fight, Bob wouldn't have been in the picture. He wouldn't have been in the picture. He'd probably be talking about making Richard Torres versus Jared Anderson right now, if it wasn't for Frank Warren handing Tyson Fury over to him. What's he done for Inoue in America? What did he sign Inoue for? Most of the Americans ain't even up when Inoue fights. Inoue does $55,000 in Japan. In America, they don't respect his accomplishments, telling him he's got to jump up another 2 or 3 weight classes to fight Tank. When how much weight classes has he conquered already? Been undisputed in 2 of them. Didn't he tell Barbershop Conversations that Tyson Fury was in the red? He was in the red with Tyson Fury. He hadn't made no money off him, and this was after the second Wilder fight, which did good pay-per-view numbers, but how much did they have to spend to promote the event? Tyson fills out Wembley Stadium over here. Bob had him in America fighting Otto Wallin and the other European guy in half-empty arenas. He doesn't make too much pay-per-views because he knows they're not going to sell, where Al Heyman just pay-per-views everything. He's good at steadying the ship. But as for him nurturing and developing talent, the receipts say different. Bob and Lomachenko's fan base, and I like Lomachenko, so why are you hating on Loma? Sod off, right? They talk about Lomachenko like he's this esteemed personality in boxing. Why isn't he a pay-per-view draw yet? How come it took you so long to get this Tank Davis fight? Bob and Oscar all up themselves when Al Heyman came on the scene. We're going to sue him. We're going to put him in his place. Took him about flipping 6 years to get this Lomachenko fight against Tank. Oscar asking black PBC fighters to come over there. Nope, not happening. They think they can just bulldoze their way around, say what they want to fighters, say what they want to other promoters, and succeed. They're not as good as you guys are saying. Go do the research of how many fighters throw shit at Bob after he's promoting them compared to Eddie. Do it. Do it yourself. Remember when Mikey Garcia said when Oscar left he made more money, when Floyd left he made more money, Crawford left more made money, when he left he made more money? Tell me the fighters who made more money when they left Eddie Hearn. Who are they? And don't say Canelo.
Cameron Duncan. Do Top Rank have like columns of fighters? And they say, we don't want this guy fighting the black fighter. We don't want this fighter fighting the Mexican fighter, and so on and so forth.
You're going to get into the racial stuff, huh?
No, I'm asking.
That's a theory there by the greatest matchmaker, probably, in my opinion, ever. He used to have a thing up on his board, NBF, no black fighters, no black fighters, no black fighters.
That's a few years back. Barbershop Conversations was in the Mayweather gym, and they told him to ask Cameron Duncan about the policy that Top Rank had on matching non-black fighters with black fighters. Yeah? That's Cameron Duncan, who worked for Top Rank, a boxing manager, telling you from his own mouth about the policy. It was a big story a few years back. They didn't reveal who this matchmaker was. I believe it was Teddy Bremner. It was Teddy Bremner. Bob Arum, folks. Give him a round of applause.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
You love the attention.
I came on here just to express my actions for the last couple of months, and I'm sorry for how long it took for me to make this video. I woke up the next morning regretting everything I did and everything I said about Andrea, and I came on here just to say I'm sorry. Andrea, you're the mother of my children and somebody that I will always have love and respect for.
I came on here, You see, the is an adlib of how much pain he's in. Like, if you're going to make things right with people, you don't have to make a public display. You go and do what you got to do. You're dealing with the mother of your child and kids. If you've lost their respect, this is something you've got to gradually build back. If this is all about the mother of your child, how comes his narcissism has turned it all on the Ryan show? I wonder if he's going to try and milk his mum's cancer soon. Get on camera, long pause. My mom's, man, my mom's. Don't do it. You got to be stoic and be there for your family. Really be there. Not for the camera, for your family. Even at the expense of your own happiness. There's a certain time for the camera, and there's a certain time you shouldn't be on it.
You love the attention.
He does the low voice, pause, talk, low voice, pause, talk, when he apologizes to the black community. Check this out.
You love the attention.
I want to apologize to the black community, apologize to the Muslim community, basically for, my language and my vocabulary. Obviously, I have a big responsibility as a famous athlete, and I was very under the influence, and obviously, I'm going through a lot is what I say, but I have no excuse. I'm just saying, I'm sorry to all my black friends and families that are hurt, and my Muslim families that are hurt. I just want to be a positive influence now. Like I said, I'm headed to rehab, and I'm going to make a real change in my heart. And like I said, all I can do is be better. I acknowledge that I definitely shouldn't have said those stupid All I could do is say sorry, bro. I don't know what else to say. Like, actions speak louder than words.
You love the attention.
So Janiibek, Alam Kunalai, 31 years of age, unified middleweight champion, 15-0, 10 inside the distance. He's made 3 defenses since beating the incredible British legend Danny Dignam for the interim title. Now, there's a bit of sarcasm there, but, big up Danny Dignam. Now, Janiibek was severely hydrated, cutting the final pounds to make 160, We heard this news on Thursday. Well, I didn't, or I would have reported it. I mean, this was supposedly a unified middleweight title fight. I didn't hear about it until some of my subs says, ain't you going to cover the fight? I said, what fight? But they didn't promote this at all. I didn't know about this fight until about Wednesday or Thursday this week. I mean, look at Janiibek. 2 belts, unified champion. Bob got him slumming around, fainting, trying to cut weight. Can't get him a decent fight. A lot of you overrate Bob Arum. You overrate Bob Arum. You don't even know you're doing it, but you overrate Bob Arum. Admit it, you overdid it. Anyway, no kidney damage is what Aegis Clemens says. But he was forced to pull out from his long-awaited, career-defining middleweight contest against Andrei Mikhailovich. Now, Mikhailovich, bona fide Hall of Famer, ATG, 21-0 with 13 inside the distance. From that notoriously renowned hotbed of fighters, New Zealand, was deeply disappointed that he couldn't add to his legacy by facing Janiibek. So now the weight bullying debate comes into question. At 5'11" and change, with a wide-looking upper body, at 31 years of age, should Janiibek be squeezing back into the jeans he was wearing for the last 5 or 10 years? You know, we're seeing David Benavidez trying to squeeze back into the old jeans that he's been wearing for the last 5 or 10 years. After one light heavyweight fight, he's running back down to 168.
A shapeshifter. I can squeeze into anything. So
Britain's LaRon Richards fainted in a hotel a year and a half or 2 years back, the day before a proposed fight, and had to call off. He's 5'11" and looks pretty big to me, but he's a 168 pounder. To be honest, I never really see him take a hard shot because he's good defensively. The Lennox Clark fight was tough and he took all his shots without no issue. But I see him on a small hall card just the other week against a none too spectacular 168 pounder without a big punching reputation get floored and stopped by punches that at the time I was thinking, okay, fair enough. But looking back on it now, perhaps he needed to move up. You're wondering why these fighters, look a little indifferent, like Boots. Yeah, he won well in the end against David AVANESYAN. You wonder if he doesn't need to move up to 154. He's 5'10", 74-inch reach, and looks just as big as most middleweights out there. On the same bill, you had JALIL HACKETT versus Pete Dobson. Pete Dobson is 5'10". He fought Conor Benn last time at 154, and he's in his 30s now. He squeezed back down into the old jeans to face off against JALIL HACKETT, who's 5'11" with a long wingspan. And with Pete Dobson, who lost a 10-round decision, he was getting caught moving back in straight lines. You could say he wasn't moving his head, he wasn't getting underneath punches, and wasn't using side-to-side lateral movement. But it almost sounds too critical, like he wasn't implementing no defense at all. He was. JALIL, I don't know if it's a weight thing, because he's only 21. I don't think it's a weight thing. I think with JALIL, it's just the inactivity. They need to get him busy. And, he needed that fight. And it was a good fight, man. It was a good fight. He done some good body work. Very good body work, actually. He needs to work on his versatility with his jab, JALIL, and get more active. And now he's on Matchroom. We expect more activity. This was definitely a good fight for him to come back. Yeah, he had 3 fights last year. None at all this year. He couldn't get no dates on the PBC, so he switched over to Matchroom. But in 3 fights he had last year, they were going 1, 2, 3 rounds. They can't pay out for opponents at Pete Dobson's level. And I'm not saying Pete Dobson is world level or anything like that, but he's got a decent record, and we saw what he did against Conor Benn. I guarantee you, none of JALIL's opponents that he fought on the PBC were as good as Pete Dobson, because they're not developing their boxers like a Matchroom developed their boxers. There's no comparison. JALIL HACKETT, he's fought in the Mayweather gym, had tough spars. He's either participated or witnessed the doghouse spars, trained with the likes of Gervonta, Mayweather, etc. 9-0, 7 knockouts. Looks like he can take a bit of a punch. He likes to throw a lot of punches, and he has the size. A lot of people, let's nurse him and develop him and stuff. Look, man, these kids at this stage are fighting 2-3 times a year. The next thing, he'll be 24, 25 and had 6 fights against who? You might as well fast track. If any fringe welterweights fancy a piece of JALIL, Eddie would do good to make that fight, because I think they'd take it as well. I'd like to see him against Conor Benn, but it's not going to happen. Ben's probably going to fight Eubank. Yes, he needs to work on his defense, but that's not what he's about. He's a Philly fighter. He wants to fight. He wants you to throw and he wants to counter and come back. That's how a lot of them fight. Boots was doing that yesterday, but at a higher level than Jalil. They need to perhaps look at his dad handling the training duties by himself. Maybe they're penny pinching to maximize his son's purse. He needs first-class training. Let's not get that twisted. He needs first-class training, but he doesn't need babying. There's no point babying this kid. It's like a grown man already. Elbow Pete in his face, high up on his forehead above the left eye. See the swelling. So he can look after himself. It's a little dirty. He has no fear. Pete Dobson, he's still a good test for 147 and 154 pounders. He kept it competitive. Nowhere near as much volume as Jalil, but he came back into it, and Jalil's defense got exposed as he got hit with his mouth open walking forward, but he was never hurt or anything like that. Pete was hurt a couple of times to the body, and some headshots hurt him. I enjoyed that fight. I really did. I enjoyed it. They did a lot of trash talking in the press conference, and they delivered in the ring. It was more competitive than the main event.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
I mean, you see a guy like JARON ENNIS tonight, who's been out for a year, like he was really disappointed with his performance. I mean, not being funny, it was like he was playing with him.
The analysis from many about boxing has become unrealistic, and Shakur points it out here. They mad at me for not letting my hands go. Now they mad at Boots for letting his hands go and getting caught with some shots. What the hell y'all looking for? The perfect fighter. This is why I say fuck y'all. I'm coming out with the victory every night. I will step it up more, etc. And there is no perfect fighter. David Avanesian has bust the bubble of hard-punching European champions like Kerman Ledger-Raja, top British prospects like Josh Kelly. He's been in there with an old Shane Mosley, an old Lamont Peterson. Still good fights, even though they were aging fighters. He's been in there with the War Machines, and he has a good record. And he's not someone you go in there, whether it's sparring or a fight, and you don't know you've been in a fight. And you have to question the knowledge of the media who cover boxing and what they're telling people. You know, they're telling people that, yeah, you can just walk into certain opponents and there's no consequences. You can just take liberties with them and you don't get hit and you should look spectacular. Well, often one negates the other. The more you throw, the more open you are to get countered. The less you throw and look to counterpunch, well, the less you'll get hit.
It's simple mathematics.
When you're in the limelight, yeah, and you're on, if you can't take criticism, and I'm not saying he can't, he comes over as a really nice fella actually, but you're in this job to be criticised. You know, grow up. You're in the sport. It's a hard sport. Let negativity run off your back like water off a windshield.
Peter Fury the other week said, if you can't take the criticism, you should get out of the game. Well, I don't agree with that. And he did get hit. He did get hit. But he was never buzzed. He was never hurt. He never got hit flush with anything. And from what I was seeing, he was inviting Avanesian to open up. I didn't say he wanted to get hit, but it's not easy to break David's high guard. He's got a very good high guard, and he's got low center of gravity. So to get David to open up was one of the best ways to counter him. When Boots landed in the fifth, that left hand went straight down the pipe from Boots, straight down the pipe. Avanesian couldn't see it because Boots disguised it well. He didn't wind up the punch. There wasn't a lot of backlift on the punch. It looked like it was going towards his chest, but it hit him bang on the chin. Avanesian didn't see it. It was out of his peripheral vision. Very well timed counterpunch. And apparently Avanesian's jaw was broken pretty badly. You could see the left side of his face puffing up considerably. I like the way Boots was using the shell and countering. I like that kind of boxing. You know what I mean? And perhaps there was a little too much expectation on him. You know, the big Philly event, done a bigger gate than Tyson. There hasn't been an event like this since Briscoe and Hagler in the 80s. David was a late substitute. He was knocked out by Terence Crawford just one fight ago. Boots was considerably bigger. But the realities are, he got it done quicker than Terence Crawford, but he didn't do it as spectacularly as Terence. And it was very unlikely he was going to knock Avanesian out in a round. Avanesian's track record doesn't suggest someone who just rolls over easy. little bit of a no-win situation. If he did blow Avanesyan over in a round with no resistance from Avanesyan, what would they be saying then? Fake fight, bullshit fight. Avanesyan has quick hands. He has fast hands. He has a good rhythm. He's a good fighter. He is a good fighter. You know, like, there's not many Terence Crawfords out there who can sleep at Avanesyan like that. And to be honest, he was competing with Terence Crawford pretty well up until the finish. You know, sometimes what the critics and fans don't factor, you can bring in the likes of Avanesyan or even a Derek Chisora, and when they don't get blown away easy, people are wondering, well, why are you blowing him away? Well, look who he's fought. Look at the experience. It does count. Avanesyan is very experienced. He's been in with veterans, Mosley, Peterson when he was on the PBC. He's been in with Crawford. Crawford knocked him spark out, but he has that type of mentality that in his next fight, he'll fight like that never happened. And he made himself a difficult target, didn't he? With that high guard and his low center of gravity. And he's very clever. He's very experienced. Like when Boots was looking to rest on the ropes, he was landing them overhand rights and he was going to Boots' body. And Boots did some great body work himself. Like the fight was nearly over early when he caught David with a low blow. I thought David was feigning injury, but no, he was hit low and he needed a little time to recover. But yeah, Avanesyan landed right hands over the top and he competed right up until that left hand counter put him on the floor in the 5th round. And I guess because he didn't come out for the 6th, maybe it was a little anticlimactic for the fans and the media that they didn't see a more convincing clean knockout or clean stoppage or whatnot. But that's boxing, man. Like, Boots won virtually every round. Maybe David won the 3rd or 4th. I'd have to go back and look at it. But it was one-sided. One-sided. David made it, or tried to make it competitive, but it was one-sided. Boots is disappointed with his performance. I guess because he got clipped a few times. You know, there were times when he retreated to the ropes to rest. Has that got something to do with the weight? The criticism hasn't been too bad from what I've seen. Move on. Who's next? Looks like Turki Al-Sheikh is collapsing the pocket again. He spoke to Boots. He wants to see what happens with Crawford challenges Madrimov for that WBA belt. And Terence exposed that Bozy, Boots' dad, didn't want the fight. The opportunity was there. And because of his relationships at Showtime, and he wanted to be loyal to Showtime, despite not having a contract with them, the opportunity was lost. Boots said, well, he was ready to fight Crawford instead of Avanesyan, and he chose Avanesyan. Well, after Crawford and Madrimov, if Crawford is successful, we're going to see. We're going to see, because there'll be nowhere to run for either one. There'll be no excuses for why you don't take that fight.